one here for the ball. This one here for the ball. Yes, yes. And while they are selling beans on it, you only have this for a moment. For a moment. My life like a home. My life like a home.
Hey guys, so this is going to be a quick breakdown of my GitHub Motion Graphics. I'm just going to go through everything really quickly and try to break down like the most complex parts of it. Yeah, I'm just going to get started. Okay, I'll start with the first scene over here, which is this laptop spinning animation. Inside this animation is actually a 3D model that I imported off of, I think, Sketchfab. This entire thing, once you import it, it imports all of these 3D objects and then outputs it into something that looks like this. And then in this 3D environment, there are actually a lot of other material nodes that I didn't really mess around too much with, but I tried to connect some of it up to make it work better and actually have some reflection. I don't think any of this actually matters too much what you add. The only thing that matters is what's going into the screen. So the screen has a material over here that's going into this 3D object. And then this screen material, it used to take in this original picture. I wanted to have my own design instead of just using the default Mac background. So what I have is a gradient, a time speed that slowed it down by half, and then a transform to turn it into the orientation that it should be for the material itself. That all comes into this main merge over here. And this main merge is just the laptop itself. And then I have another scale and that scales it down to where I want it to be, which is basically on its side. And then I have a duplicate that duplicates 8 times around with a 45-degree angle. And this is what it would look like after duplicating. And then the last couple things, this transform or this expression here is just to move it into place, because the first transform moved it down here, but then I wanted the pivot to be up here so that it actually rotates around the center. There's another transform to move it actually to the center, and then a camera that rotates out slowly in a linear fashion like so. And then we have a point light in the center that also moves slightly so that if you see in the final animation, you see the lighting of the reflection of the metal. It actually moves along with the camera. There's this glint that comes off the laptops and slowly moves towards the outside. So that's just a small extra effect that I thought of having. Once you're in the final merge with all the 3D objects, you just render it out. And then I used hardware render because my GPU is powerful enough to actually play in somewhat of a real time. But you have to make sure to enable lighting and shadows, and then this is the final result you get. All right, moving on to the text. So these text animations, each word is its own node. I just have a text, it flickers on a bit. This is the enabled keyframe. So it just turns off, turns on, flickers a little bit. And then the main movement part is the transform. If you take a look at the spline curve, it eases out, and then there's an ease in, ease out. The first keyframe is going to the right and then going up. So this is pretty simple as well. You just have to make sure that you're not actually bending this curve over here, because if you do, then it'll look really weird. But it is a full right angle so that it goes to the right and then goes up. And each of these have its own different animations. So this goes left and then down. So I tried to randomize it a little bit and offset each one of these. So if you look and see all of these, all of the keyframes are offset by a little bit. And my trick for doing this is once you have one animation done, you just copy paste, change the transforms keyframes by just going into the center, modifying it, or you can even just move it like this, and then it's already different, and it will keep the same spline curve. Once you have a second copy of it, you can just go down into the keyframes tab, drop these down, select all of it, and then you can just shift it to wherever you want it to be. So that's an easy way to make it offset like this. And that is the text for this page. The next part, most of it is all just a tutorial by Reliable. His gradient thermal transition is basically just this, but I layered it 4 times on top of each other. I'm going to recommend that you just watch this tutorial for this effect. Once you follow this tutorial, you're going to have a composition that is just the gradient itself. So this is all just following his tutorial. You get to this nice gradient effect, but I am in quarter resolution. So once I go to full resolution, you should see the actual gradient effect. So it'll just look like this. I'm going to go back to quarter. And then you're going to also have another composition, which is just what he called in his tutorial the glow. The only thing I changed in it is I added an erode dilate, because originally the text over here is very thin. So I wanted an erode to make it slightly wider, and then an ellipse that keyframe so that it undoes the erode like so. And then this feeds into the output like here. This is with the code itself, and then I have another one with the background. So it is also the same thing. I'm pretty sure I also have an erode, and then yeah, I have an erode as well, and then the ellipse that undoes the erode. And the rest of this is all just following his tutorials. Basically, all I added afterwards was another displacer to make it a little bit more warped, if I can show, yeah, something like this. And then I also keyframed this one so that it would start very warped and then go back to normal after a couple frames. The reason why I have two of these, if I go into this one and this one, the first one is the glow from the tutorial, but the second one, I just put in the raw picture itself. I have two ellipses. One of them transitions it out of it, and the other one is just an instance of it, so it does the same thing. But I uninstanced the invert. So the first one is not inverted, and the second one is inverted. Because they're the same instance, the first one will get undone, and then you can see the second one from this one coming in, which is the actual background itself. This is the one from the tutorial that makes a nice shiny gradient effect, and this is the one that's just revealing the original background picture. In the final animation as well, you can see, oh, this part of it, which is covered by exactly by the ellipse, it's slowly keyframing itself out of frame. And then again, this displace is just adding extra flare on top of it, like this. And the next thing you have is again, the exact same setup. So this setup right here, let me just move this. This setup right here is all just the background part of it. So I copied pasted the exact same setup, but this time for the lines of code themselves, which is what's happening in the center. Now I want to offset this so that this part keyframes the gradient code out and then the actual code in. If I'm playing this animation, you can see on the right side that the background first comes down and then the code is still having this grading effect. Then that comes down afterwards. This makes this really nice effect. Most of it, again, is all followed by Eliable's thermal gradient tutorial, so I recommend taking a look at that first. I added some extra flare on the outside of it. I added a pixel sorting, I think just for the beginning of it, the first couple frames. We saw in the beginning, there's a slight pixel sort effect. I just had a mask that is slightly cropped so that it's on the edge of when they are played, like this. And this is the same gradients adjustment clip. I'm going to be using the grading a lot more everywhere else as well. We have a DVE that moves it down like this, and then here are the keyframes for that. It's just a slight tilt and then it untilts, and then we have a drop shadow under it, and then we have a final merge that just adds the white background back to it. All right, and then the next part is the exact same thing with the text. You can see they all flicker in pretty much all a little bit offset of each other, and then they start flickering out while each of these transforms are moving the text out of frame. A transform again that goes down and then left, and then each of these are all just random transforms. So it's the same concept as before. All right, moving on to the next scene. This is the exact same laptop model imported in. All I did was just move where it was. Now it's here without any duplicates. The other thing I changed is that what's on screen. So for the screen material, what was here before was, remember the gradients? I just replaced that with the actual VS Code image, transformed it again to actually upright with the screen, because if I didn't have it, it'll be in the wrong direction. So you have to add a transform to move it back. And then this is the actual scene. Whatever is going into here is just the laptop itself. And then going into here is the rest of it, which is the screen and the camera. So the screen, this is built using just a bunch of ellipses and different shapes. So if we take a look at this merge, we're going to have a couple ellipses that's all going into this one. So this is just the top nav bar, and I have a transform that moves into place, and another merge that has first the background, it's just a rectangle, and then text, just a single $sign over here. And then I have another text that's just a blinking white box. For the border effect, I had this rectangle for the original background, right? And then I made an instance of it, increased the border width a little bit, and then masked it into the gradient. And I have another time speed to half the speed because I felt like the gradient was a bit too fast. And then a dream glow. This is a plugin by Escape Edits. You should check him out for this plugin if you want it. This glow is just merged on top of the original background. Afterwards, we have an image plane to put into 3D. I just manually aligned it up so that it is flush with the computer screen like this. We have a camera that just follows the laptop a little bit. And then we have another light behind it that all it does is just keyframes left to right to make this glint effect on the laptop. So yeah, this scene is pretty simple. Most of it is just the 3D laptop that I imported from somewhere else, and then I guess the screen UI itself. So that was that scene. I guess moving on to the next one, this is also very simple once you have the previous scene. So this, I just explained it. It's just the background, the merge with these ellipses transformed up over there, and the merge all together. And then we have a text node that has a mask on it so that it only appears in this area. But this text node is the only thing that's being keyframed. I have a follower with a manual curve set up so that each section of the text only appears on a keyframe that I want it to. So I have first one appears here, second one appears here. I also keyframe the position of it so that this pushes it up and pushes it up again, pushes it up again. This part is all just static keyframes. You can even do this with multiple text nodes if you wanted to, but it is pretty simple. All you have to do is just align it with the music. This transform over here is just moving it to the left and then zooming out. So this part is probably the only difficult part of this entire video. I was following a tutorial again by Eliable, which is his image carousel tutorial. I'll also link that. Once you follow his tutorial, it is pretty simple. So his tutorial gets you up to here, this replicate. And the things that's going inside of the replicate is my own custom made, I guess, like issues. I'll just open 2 of these. I have 4 of these, 4 issues, and then each of these are all just built. So I have the content, merge, I have the pill, status pill that's going into here. I have the description text, issue number, title, tags, like this. And then all of these are rendered out. I didn't want to take a screenshot and just use that because those are usually low quality. So if you build it yourself, and this was using shape nodes, you can get something like this. It makes it look slightly better when you're animating it. But I have 4 of these issues, and each of these are all just, I just changed the text a little bit and then moved it to the correct positions. So if you have 4 of these, then all you do is just plug it into the replicate like in his tutorial, and then the main keyframe inside of the first transform from his tutorial, it just rotates it, slowly stops in the middle, and then continues rotating it. I did it twice. So first one is on the left side, and the second one is on the right side with the closed issues. This replicates on every single vertex. I have a ribbon with 8 subdivisions. This bender would have 8 different vertices for the individual issues to replicate on top of. One of these, this one, all I do is just disable it. I just keyframe it so that it completely disables. And at the same time, I have a merge going into here that enables it. So this disables. The moment this disables, this one enables, and this is the one that's getting dragged around. And the same thing with the exit. In this original replicate, it doesn't exist. And the moment it gets dropped, I keyframe it back so that it is sticking with the entire carousel. And same with this. The moment it finishes, I just disable it. For actually making this path, first thing is that I have this transform that only modifies the position of it. And then this one, I just move it up a little bit, down and to the right, and move it down a little bit. And I did this trick, or I guess technique or whatever. I did this before where if you have a transform, let's say like this, and then you want to keyframe it here, and you want to keyframe it here, and in the middle, you want to also move it up, but at the end, I don't know, something like this. What you can do, instead of messing with the spline, you can also just select all of these, press Shift S, and it would automatically modify the spline to make it match the curve. So instead of being all completely linear like this, if you select all of it, Shift S, and then it would bend and slightly change around the points. So I did sort of the same thing over here with these bottom ones. And then this was just a lot of fine tuning with keyframes to make it close to this. And then we have the image plane as well. All it does is it jumps up a little bit, tilts, and then jumps down. All of these put together makes a pretty smooth transition from dragging from one side to the other. The next part over here is just the mouse. So if you remember in the original clip, I have a transform that is this entire animation like this. I just copied the exact same transform, moved it into this adjustment clip, and then used the exact same transform here. How this animation works is I had an SVG I imported in, which is just the open hand grabber, and then I have a closed hand grabber, another imported SVG. And then all of this goes into a merge, and then I just keyframed the blend that the other one gets activated this time and the other one disables at this time. An image plane to move into 3D so I can use the transform 3Ds. And then I have 2 transforms here actually. The first one is exactly what I copied over, the same thing over here, just for this section from frames 32 to or 33 to 77. Outside of it, I have this transform, which brings it up and just lets it sit there. And then because it's letting it sit there, the other transform takes over between these frames. So all I have to do is add a second transform over here that just brings it up, lets it sit there, and then take it away. So then both of these added together, it looks like it comes up, the second transform takes over, and then it goes away. And then the camera is, I had to copy it over so that it is the exact same position. Basically, all of these nodes are just copied over from the other scene to make it exactly match where this mouse hand should be and where the issue cards are. This part is also pretty simple once you know what's going on. Everything is done in 3D, so I could have sort of like a parallax effect when the camera comes up. Each of these, again, are just different components that I put together manually. They're all just placed wherever throughout the 3D scene, and then some of them I moved a little bit extra, but most of them are just all staying in place. Let me just show you what each of the things look like. So I'll just show you 2 of them. Our first one is just a small clip. Again, I have these 3 dots, 3 circles, and I moved into the top left. And then going into it, I have also a really long code segment that I took a large screenshot of. I just cropped it so that I only have this section. I keyed out the background, transformed it a little bit to be in the correct position. I also have a rectangle mask so that it cuts off the top of it. So once I merge it into here, it looks a bit nicer. And another one is this PR review one. So I took the same thing pretty much for the other issue cards, and then I just resized it so that everything fits into this. For example, I have the background, I have the title text, I have description, and then the issue number, or I guess not issue number, but it's now date. I also have the reply box over here. It's just a rectangle text merged together and then moved up to here. And the approved text is just a bordered, rounded rectangle. The text inside, merge it together, transform into place. It's just all manually built with different shape elements. Once you have a couple of these, I think I made 3 or 4 PR review ones and then a couple terminal ones as well. And then you can put them together by just splattering it wherever you want inside your 3D environment. So for example, this one placed up there, this one placed there. So all of these are just put together in random locations. The only different one I have is this one. So once I merge it in, I also want to add slight background so that this LGTM, which is commonly used in code reviews, it has a gradients border around it. So it's the exact same thing where I did in one of the beginning scenes. It's just a rectangle with a bit of a border, a gradient, and then the Dreamglow plugin. And then you can merge it into place like this, and then it makes a nice effect as it comes in. And this is also in the 3D environment. So for the camera itself, this was a little bit tricky to manipulate. The camera comes up a little bit, jumps up slightly, another slightly jump, and then it goes forward. So I wanted to time it on the beat of the music. So there's about 3 beats over here. 1, 2, 3. So in those beats, the fastest part of the camera movement, which would be in here, the center part of these 2 eases, that's where the beat happens. So this is where the beat happens, this is where the beat happens, and then as it zooms in, it's the 3rd beat. Once you have that, all of that put together, this is what it would look like. And the last part, I definitely got a bit lazy with this. This is also pretty simple. It's just, again, building the UI elements inside of DaVinci Resolve. Once you have the UI elements and then all the text keyframed, it's very simple. Yeah, this is also merged together with the same exact 3D dots. I've just been copying and pasting it all over the place, merging it to the top left over here, and then a DVE to help it transform or transition into the scene. All right, for the UI element itself, this is, I guess it's a bit messy here, but there's 3 main sections. This one, and this one. And the first one is the job setup part. So I have this section just up here, but my text is super long. Like, it looks like this. I just have a lot of random GitHub text, but it's super long, so I needed an S boolean so that wherever it's intersecting with this rectangle is where only the text shows up. So it's basically a mask, but inside shape node. I have this rectangle going to the boolean, and then I have it going into the merge with the title, which is just this, another text on the right side, and then a long thin rectangle to show this. I also have a spinner over here and just turns into a check mark. This check mark this is also just an SVG I imported. I had a boolean with an ellipse so that it cuts out the middle part, and this is in XOR operation. I'm gonna merge with the actual spinner so that this spinner is just rotating on time times -5. That's just one section over here. So everything else is just, I just copied paste over here, and then it's pretty much the exact same thing. Again, paste it over here so that it would do this. The only difference between all of these is that there's one transform that moves it into place. So this moves it to the top, this moves it to the middle, and this moves it to the bottom. And then afterwards, we have it all put together with a large background. And then we have one final transform that just cuts it to the bottom corner. And then we want to transform it inside of the shape node so that it doesn't lose any quality when you transform. So once that is moved in, we have, again, the DVE, which just helps it transition into the scene a bit better, and then also a slight zoom in. And I forgot to mention that each of these texts, because it's so long and I wanted to make it look like a terminal that's actually moving, all I did was keyframe the center of it. So instead of being linear, I selected all the keyframes and clicked one of these options to make it jump up to the next section. And then I always made sure to end it on the last bit of green text over here. All of these have the same keyframes, so let me just select all of them. The first 2 have the same keyframes, but the 3rd one, because I needed to end a bit later, I just keyframed it, and I did the same thing over here where I just dragged it over to the right side, or just add a bit more keyframes in the middle. But I just ended it so that after it cuts, it ends on this frame over here. And then I guess I should mention the outside background as well. It is also very simple. This is same gradient over here. And then I had a S star shape. Yeah, all it does is just rotates on the angle by this spline. And then I had it looped so that I set loop relative so that it continuously rotates like so. And then I had a standard displace node where I plugged in the gradient into here so that it does this effect with the shape itself in the background. And then I merged it and then I masked out the inside of it. Yeah, this part, it's basically just the gradient on a mask merged in. That's it. And then the last part, for this section, I guess it's sort of complicated as well, but there was a way I did it with the with one of my previous videos, I think Unveil video. It had a bunch of nodes and they were all connected by lines. I had a script that generated a expression for each transform so that it is connected to the line. So this line is always connected to this transform and a center object. And then I also have a master controller. If I move this, it rotates around the center. And if I move this, it controls the distance around the center. This number over here, the number in 1 and number in 2, it's all injected into each of these transforms. So this is what one of the points look like. It just calculates exactly where the position is and according to the angle and distance using this master controller. But we also have the lines that connect them from each of them to the center. It calculates the exact position of it so that each line points directly from the center object to each of these nodes. So for example, if I move the center object, everything would be moved. Let me show you a better, or I guess another way to do this without expressions. Let's just say you have this, an ellipse, and then we'll copy it and do one here as well. And we'll move this here. So we have 2 ellipses, and then if I want another merge with, I guess, a polyline or a polygon. All right, this will make a bit more sense later. But let's say I have this ellipse, and then I want to keyframe it from here to here. And then same with this one, I want to keyframe here to up here. So now these have keyframe points that are published. So this center, ellipse1_1 center, is now published so that anything else can also now use it. So if I do this with the polygon, I just select 2 points, Shift A to select all of it, and then right click, polyline, publish the XY path. So if I click on publish the XY path, these 2 points are now 0.0 and 0.1. And you can control this however you want inside of here. But since we have the centers published, you can right click it, connect to path 1 position. And the same thing with the second point, connect to path 2 position. So now, no matter where you move this, even if I want to move it afterwards, it will always stay connected. So this is sort of the same idea with it, that it connects to these published points, but instead of using a right click and then connect to the path, it's using expressions. For example, over here, it uses the center objects dot x times this, which is the distance away from it. And then you have a cosine or whatever. This is just calculating the angle and then subtracting the center object's y. And then so it's just a lot of different calculations to get it the exact same way as this, but only using expressions. And using expressions, this means I can automate it with a script. Yeah, it's basically the same thing as this. So that's basically the general gist of it. I had the lines composited over here at the merge with each of these other nodes. So this is just a text background and a transform with the expressions to move it into place. All I did was keyframe the master controls movement, so the angle changes and then the distance changes. I have a cut as it goes down into the center. Once it cuts into the center, I had this clip originally extended, I just cut in the middle and I use this clip. So it starts from inside in the center. All I'm doing is keyframing the distance of it. I'm just keyframing how far away it is, and then it jumps out a little bit and then jumps back in. And then this transform just makes it so it's a bit more zoomed in, and it's sort of the same effect. Zoom in a little bit and then zoom out. The rest of this, to make this weird looking effect, this was also, it's basically adapted from Eli Abel's thermal gradient tutorial again. If you follow his tutorial, it basically, this part is just the glow fusion comp, and this is the gradient fusion comp, and they go into the time displacement. So it's the same thing, except I didn't make a new composition, but it goes into the inner glow and then it has an outer glow as well. And then you merge it together like this. And then one of them goes into the time displacement. The other one masks the gradient itself. Afterwards, it looks like this. And then once you add the other displacement, it can go pretty crazy. I just wanted to make it look a bit chaotic. So I just stacked a bunch of different effects on top of each other, make it look like this. But yeah, definitely check out Eli Abel's tutorial for this. So usually for my videos, I have a large entire adjustment clip on top of everything or just the global effects. But for this video, I wanted it to be simpler and more minimalistic, so I barely had any global effects. It was just this one over here at the end of it where I added a lens distortion to do some sort of like RGB split with it. Yeah, that's pretty much the video breakdown. The rest of it, I also had a lot of sound effects that I was messing around with. All of the sound effects are from Pixabay. It's nothing too good, I think. I reused a lot of sound effects everywhere, but I guess it makes a little bit more of an impact in the final video instead of just the raw music. I'll also show what the sound effects sound like without the music. yeah, that's pretty much it for the video. So I hope you guys enjoyed and learned something from this. Thank you for watching.